to open formally the event. Commissioner Gabriel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Very pleased to be together with all of you, dear participants, dear Thomas, dear friends of sport. First of all, it is a true pleasure for me to launch this 9th edition of Sport Info Day. As you know, this year we have thousands of participants following the event online, but even behind the screen, one thing remains the same: your commitment to sport and to its values. And I would like to thank you for that. Without the effort and passion of so many of you, our program could never hope to reach those who need our support the most. Ultimately, together we make the sports chapter of Erasmus Plus come true. And this Sport Info Day is about informing you of the opportunities of our ambitious Erasmus Plus program for the period 2021-2027. And after all, the sport chapter of the program is a bridge from grassroots to elite sport. Erasmus Plus is key in supporting sport today and in the future. And as we know, making it possible is important, but it is not the same as making it happen. Qualifying for a championship makes victory possible, but you still have to fight to make it happen. Ultimately, you make the sports chapter of Erasmus Plus come true. Our role at European level is to help you cross this bridge and bring sport to more people across Europe. From grassroots sport organizations to the large established institutions, Erasmus has been a driving force aimed at supporting sport in all its dimensions, and we want to build on this success. I'm proud to say that despite the difficult year we had, this community has given us an incredible response. In 2021, we received more applications than ever, more than 1,300. Soon, all our successful applicants will have the chance to put their projects to work and make their innovative ideas a reality. And this fills me with confidence for 2022, especially because this year is marked by two very exciting events: the 35th anniversary of Erasmus Plus and the European Year of Youth. And sport will play a key role in both. We have plenty to celebrate. First, we have a stronger Erasmus Plus sport budget. We are increasing the budget for the sport calls to over 70 million euros. In addition, the budget for cooperation partnerships is moving closer to the 40 million euros mark. And this will allow us to fund more projects, bring more opportunities, and reach out to more organizations. Your dedication and commitment is having a real impact, and this budget increase is a clear feedback. Keep going. Second, we want to provide even more opportunities for participation and to make Erasmus Plus more open to international cooperation. This is why we are launching a new call to build capacity and broaden our support community to the Western Balkans. Our main goal is to forge links between Europe and the Western Balkans agenda for innovation, research, education, culture, youth, and sport. And third, of course, something very close to my heart, we are advancing with our new initiative, Healthy Lifestyle for All. It opens a new era in promoting a healthy lifestyle as it seeks cross-sectoral approach to address health and physical activity with the aim of establishing community of practice across generations and social groups. It is shaped, as you know, around three main pillars. First, improving awareness of healthy lifestyles across generations. Second, easier access to sport and physical activity with special focus on inclusion and non-discrimination to reach disadvantaged groups. And third, teaming up with experts across fields towards a holistic approach to food, health, well-being, and sport. And the success of this initiative will only be possible with your active involvement. These three pillars of our effort to improve the lifestyle of people in Europe will also be able to rely on Erasmus Plus funding, now that we have added the promotion of a healthy lifestyle as a new priority in the program. We have invited everyone from the largest sport organizations to the smaller sport clubs to join in, make their pledge for healthy lifestyle for all, and share it with the rest of Europe. Since the launch in September, we have received 45 pledges coming from all corners of Europe. We have seen the World Health Organization, the International Olympic Committee, and the European Olympic Committees, WADA, FIFA, UEFA, along with many European umbrella sport organizations and our member states, following our call and signing pledges at the opening of the European Week of Sport. And for this, I thank each of them. Last but not least, we are bringing the Healthy Lifestyle for All initiative a step further, with 2022 being the year of youth. It is a good occasion to ask young people to help us promote sport and healthy lifestyles. This is why, at this year's European Sport Forum, I will invite a group of young people across Europe to meet and brainstorm on how to boost physical and mental health through the Healthy Lifestyle for All Youth Ideas Labs. I look forward to listening to the ideas. So, dear friends, to conclude, let me thank you once again for your presence with us today and for your work over the years to make the sports strand of Erasmus Plus a real success. These 2 days will be very intensive and with a lot of information to digest. My team is here to answer all your questions. I look forward to your ideas and to transform them into real projects. And I hope to see you very soon in our major annual events, starting with the European Sport Forum and our European Week of Sport in September. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Gabriel. And now I would like to pass the floor to Mr. Frankowski, President of the Sports Group in the European Parliament.
Gentlemen, dear friends of sport. First, I would like to congratulate Commissioner Maria Gabriel for this initiative of organizing the Erasmus Plus Sport Info Day. I would also like to thank Yves Lelostek from the Education, Audiovisual and Culture Executive Agency and Floor van Hout from the Sport Unit for invitation for today's event. Given the pandemic context, this year's Sport Info Day is very relevant and important for the whole sports sector and its recovery. After a difficult year, for all of us, we need sport even more. That is precisely where the new Erasmus Plus program steps in. It acts as a bridge between the need for more sport and the will of individuals and organizations to make it happen. The Sport Info Day is about informing you of these opportunities as there is a new and ambitious Erasmus Plus program. From grassroots to elite sports, Erasmus Plus is key to supporting sport today and in the future. For all these reasons, I'm very proud that we, European Parliament, Commission and the Member States gathered in the Council, have managed to considerably increase the budget of the new Erasmus Plus program and its share for sport to almost 500 million euro. This is about 200 million euros more than in the previous program, which is a great news. In the European Parliament, we fought for this increase to fund even more projects, bring more opportunities, and reach out to more organizations. While this is a step forward, I think that given the social and economic importance of sport, and in any future review of the program should treat sport on an equal budgetary footing with other priorities, such as youth and culture. There is also a need to increase the number of preparatory actions and pilot projects in the field of sport, and as they can lead to successful results like the exchange and mobility of coaches and sport staff, which is now part of the new edition of the Erasmus Plus program. This great outcome of the Erasmus Plus program and some successful examples of the pilot projects have shown that good collaboration between the European institutions member states and sports sector is crucial. Ladies and gentlemen, as you may know, I was a reporter of the report of the EU sport policy, which was adopted by a large majority in the European Parliament last year. This report aims to show the way forward for the future of European sport policy and calls for this increased cooperation between institutions and sports stakeholders. Of course, my work on this report is not finished yet, but I would even say that the most important part is coming now in terms of implementation. As the reporter, together with my colleagues from the CULT Committee and Sports Group, we need to put pressure on the European Commission and Member States in order to see these recommendations put into force. Dear friends of sport, at the end, I need to say that sport not only changed the world, but allows many people to change their lives. As a former football player and now an MEP, I am certainly an example of this. Sport helps us stay healthy, happy, teach us valuable skills at any age, and opens many new opportunities. That is why it's important to stay active, not only by practicing sport, but also by learning about the possibilities that the new Erasmus Plus program brings, and by applying for the sport projects. Thank you very much, and I wish you an interesting discussion.
Thank you so much, Member of the European Parliament Frankowski, and thank you, Commissioner Gabriel, for both having stressed the importance of our Sport Info Day. This is now a major rendezvous of the sports agenda, and today our event has already generated an intensive social media activity via Twitter with the hashtag SportInfoDay. In the past, we had a big audience of 2 million people, and I hope that this year it will be the same, that you will confirm this trend. There is also an important live stream on Facebook that reached last year 35,000 people, so please continue doing so. And let's underline our main purpose today. We are here to provide you with clear and precise information about Erasmus Plus and its possibilities, about the calls and the novelties of this year in the field of sport. We want to help you to find all the relevant information that you need in order to prepare and submit an application. Please do take advantage of the information that you will receive today. Use the opportunity to meet online via the ConnexMe app and really interact with other participants who are also interested in submitting an application. My last words will be about the program, the agenda. Our Sport Info Day will last 2 days. Today, just after this opening session, we'll have a session of presentation of the Erasmus Plus program starting at 10. It will be followed by a session on the program priorities of the Erasmus Plus program starting at 11:30. We will finish our work at 12:30, and tomorrow we will start at 9:30. Then 3 technical sessions will follow, one on the Erasmus Plus submission procedure, one on the evaluation process, and one on the new funding mechanism. We should also finish tomorrow at 12:30. This is the program in summary. We are now coming to the end of our opening session. Thank you again, Commissioner Gabriel and Member of the European Parliament Frankowski, for having been with us today and for having really stressed the importance of our work. Thank you. And now we will move to the second session. I will give the floor to my colleague Yves Lelostek, head of the Erasmus Mundus and Sport Unit in the Executive Agency. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for being with us today. Enjoy the day and tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Sophie. And first of all, I would like to welcome you to this first session of our Sport Info Day, which will be about the objectives and structure of the Erasmus Plus Sport. As mentioned by Sophie, I am the head of the Erasmus and Sport unit in the agency, so dealing with the sport part of the program in particular. And as some of you may know, I have been during a couple of years the head of the sport unit in the European Commission. I am together in this session with the head of the sports sector, Gaël Broz, who will in a couple of minutes make a presentation, an in-depth presentation about the Erasmus Plus program. And I am also here together with our well-known colleague Luciano Di Fonso, who will also be with us in order to answer questions after the presentations. So, as it was underlined by the Commissioner and by our friend Thomas Frankowski, we are very happy here to notice the presence of so many people and so many sport organizations in what is a virtual room. Because with Erasmus Plus, we have a great tool. A tool which is here, which is there to help sport organizations and sport stakeholders to develop their projects. So it's very important for us and for you that you make good use of it and that you know all the possibilities given by this program. And today, and Sophie underlined this, what we want to do today is a good moment to listen, but also to ask questions and to interact. You know that this program, this Erasmus Plus program we are discussing today, is the second one. It's part of the second generation of program. The first one was the Erasmus 2014-2020, and last year we started with the new generation 2021-2027. Last year, in this same Sport Info Day, we had the opportunity to present you this new Erasmus, this new generation. So for some of you, some things are already been known. There were, compared to the past, some important evolutions, which were new last year, which are not new anymore, but which were new last year. I just remind you in general terms of this evolution. So you heard that now, you know that now we have horizontal priorities. It was not the case in the past. Now there are horizontal priorities which are common to all Erasmus Plus parts, education, youth, training, and which are also, I would say, horizontal priorities of the Commission and which now apply to sport. And Gaël will mention them again later, but they are about inclusion, they are environment and climate change, they are about innovation, they are about common values. And now our program, our sport part of the program, allows us to valorize the contribution of sport to these priorities. So this is a very important evolution which was presented last year. The second one is more about continuity, but I mentioned it. We have also specific sport priority. Integrity, education in and through sport, fight against discrimination, violence in sport, also the participation in sport and physical activity. And what was mentioned by the Commissioner, our policy on healthy lifestyle is part of this. These specific priorities were, in a way, there in the past generation of program, but an important evolution is now that there is not specific share between priorities. You remember that in the past we had, for instance, 20% on integrity, 30% on health-enhancing physical activity. This is no longer the past. Now, let's say, things are completely open, and there is no quota anymore per priority. A very important evolution, of course, is the one on lump sums. We now have lump sums, and this is a major evolution. This is because this represents a big simplification, a major simplification for further for sport organizations and stakeholders. We have spoken a lot in the past about simplification. Simplification of our program was a permanent, a constant request of you, of our stakeholders and our partners in projects, and I think we have made a very important step forward with the new generation of program. And the last one I will mention, of course, it's about budget. We will, with this new generation of program, almost double the budget of sport Erasmus Plus as a whole, but on the sport part in particular. So this was the main evolution last year. This year, it will be more about continuity, with some changes that we will underline, and one of them is in the introduction of a new action, which is about capacity building. We will come to this later. Now, to conclude my initial presentation before I give the floor to Gaël, I would just like to pass three messages. So the first one is about the budget. This year, there will be more budget than last year, and so there will be more project financed. Just two figures. In 2021, in the general call, 41 million were at stake. In 2022, 51 million will be at stake. So more or less 10 million more, allowing us to finance much more projects. This year, we will finance more or less between 207 and 208 projects. Next year, we will finance between 340 and 350. These are approximations, of course. So first message, more money, more financial possibilities, more budget. The second message is about the results, the calendar, the calendar. Last year, you know, we had a calendar which was very different from the past. It was, I was about to say, chaotic, it's not the right words, but everything was postponed because there was a late adoption of the program. And of course, this had consequences with everything, with the deadlines, with the selection of projects, with everything. And of course, sport organizations and stakeholders had less time to submit projects. This year, we will come back more or less to a normal calendar, to a normal roadmap, and I think this is good news because this allows more time to prepare. Our call has been published in last November, so there is this Sport Info Day today, so there is more time to prepare. There will be normal time to organize a selection, and the results should be published before the end of the year. So we come back to normality. And the third and last message, and I know that some of you are waiting for this, it's about the results of 2021. Before the question is asked, I anticipate the answer. The results should be published in the coming 2-3 weeks, let's say. In principle, mid-January, we will have results. Why February? Sorry. Why so late? Just because, for the reasons I explained before, late adoption of the legal base, calls which were launched later, everything was delayed. So this is why, exceptionally, this year results will be published 2 months later than in the past, more or less, but results should now come soon. We are really in the last procedural phase before the communication of the results. This is what I wanted to say as an introduction, and now I will give the floor to Gaël, the head of the sports sector, who will make a presentation, more detailed presentation about Erasmus Plus Sport. Gaël, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Yves. So in this session, I will wait for the presentation to start.
Okay, we're just fixing a technical issue, and it should be solved in the coming seconds, I imagine. Yeah. Yes. So the answer is yes. So we should soon have the presentation. I think it's coming. Yes. So Gaël, please.
Thank you. Here is the presentation. So today I will present you the sport action covered by the Erasmus Plus program guide. I will mainly focus on the structure of the program and the objectives of the sports actions. In-depth presentation on how to apply funding mechanisms, applicable criteria will be made tomorrow morning by the sector team. So I hope you will be able to attend, because this is where key informations will be provided to help you apply. So as explained by Yves, the Erasmus Plus program has key horizontal priorities applicable across the board. So it seeks to promote access across all its actions and foster participation of people with fewer opportunities. So when designing the projects, organizations should have an inclusive approach, making them accessible to a diverse range of participants. Other key priorities are to promote the use of digital tools and the development of digital skills. Also to contribute to the fight against climate change, and by fostering sustainable behaviors, so including in sport projects. And at last, the program aids at at raising awareness and understanding of the European Union context, notably as regards to European values. So here is how the Erasmus Plus program is structured. So next to the Jean Monnet actions, we have 3 key actions dedicated to mobility of individuals for Action 1, cooperation among organizations and institutions under Key Action 2, and policy development under Action 3. All the sports actions that we're going to discuss today and tomorrow are covered by the Key Action 2. So here they are. In the key action, the actions in the field of sports. We have 4 actions. 2 of them are under the chapter Partnership for Cooperation. We have the flagship action, Collaborative Partnerships in the field of sport, the small-scale partnerships, our new action, Capacity Building Projects in the field of sport, and an action that you already know, the not-for-profit European sport event. In line with the specific sport policy and healthy lifestyle for all initiative, the priorities of the action under the cooperation partnerships are here described. So, first of all, encouraging healthy lifestyle for all. It's to increase the level of participation in sport and physical activity as a tool for health and well-being. To promote the integrity of and value in sport. So projects under this activity would focus on tackling threats to the integrity of sport, such as doping, match fixing, and corruption. Also, under this priority is the promotion of positive value and good governance in sport. A third priority is to promote education through sport. So projects under this priority would be supporting skills development in sport, encouraging dual careers of athletes, promoting the quality of coaching and staff, using mobility as a tool for improving qualifications, or promoting employability through sport. And then we have also 4 specific action, which is the fight to fight behaviors that have a negative impact over the practice of sport. So project under this priority would focus on fighting violence, but also all kinds of intolerance and discrimination, and promote equality in sport, including gender equality. To do all that, we have a budget. We have a total envelope of almost 52 million euros. As explained by the Commissioner and by Yves, it's a substantial increase compared to last year. And each action is allocated a specific budget. So under the cooperation partnership action, we have a budget of 35.6 million, and we expect to support around 125 projects. For small-scale cooperation action, we have a budget of 9.5 million, and we expect to support 200 projects. For the not-for-profit European sport events, we have a 6 million budget and expect to support around 18 projects. And for the new capacity building action, we have a budget of 755,000 euros and we expect to support 5 projects. So I'll start with the cooperation partnerships. With 70% of the budget, the cooperation partnerships aims to help organizations raise the quality and relevance of the activities, to reinforce the network of partners, and also to reinforce the capacity to operate at transnational level. The action is open to organizations based in European member states or third country associated to the program. They can all participate either as coordinator or as partner. If they bring added value to the project, organizations established in countries not associated to the program can participate, to the exception of Belarus. To be eligible, projects must involve a minimum of 3 organizations from 3 different EU member states or third country associated to the program. That means that if you have participants from a country not associated to the program, that will have to come on top of this minimum criteria. The project duration is between 12 and 36 months to be established in the application and in the grant agreement. And all activities must take place in the countries of the organizations involved. There are 2 exceptions. Activities can also take place at the seat of a European institution. And also, if the activity is the promotion of results, it can take place at a relevant thematic conference or transnational events. Our second action is the small-scale partnership. So the principle is that it's an action aims at widening the access to the program to small-scale actors. So it foresees smaller amounts. It will be, as we will see later, it's a lump sum of between 30,000 or 60,000 euros. Shorter duration, so it can be shorter projects from 6-month projects. Simpler administrative procedure, so 1 work package is allowed or even recommended, and smaller consortium. The project can be presented with just 2 participants involved. By reducing entry barriers to the program and proposing small-scale support, the action is intended to reach out grassroots organizations and newcomers to the program. It offers a first step into cooperation at EU level. It aims to support inclusion of target groups with fewer opportunities and bring EU dimension at local level. Also important, it aims to build the capacity of organizations, even the smaller ones, to work transnationally. The action is also open to participants established in EU member states or third countries associated to the program. Contrary to the cooperation partnerships, organizations based in countries not associated to the program cannot take part. To be eligible, consortium must involve a minimum of 2 organizations from 2 different program countries. And regarding the activities, they can take place in the country of the organizations involved, and there is one exception only. It can also take place at the seat of a European institution, even if no partner is involved is based in the country in question. A third action is capacity building in the field of sport. So it's a new action under the program 2022. It aims to support multilateral partnerships between organizations and active in the field of sport in program countries and in third countries not associated to the program, so that sport activities and policies can act as a vehicle to promote values, as an education tool to promote personal and social development, but also as a way to foster cohesive communities. The objectives of the action are targeted at third countries not associated to the program. So with a view to raise the capacity of grassroots organization, to raise the capacity of grassroots sport organization, to encourage the practice of sport and physical activity in this country, but also to promote social inclusion and positive value through sport, and to foster international cooperation through joint initiatives. Under capacity building, we have 4 thematic areas, and the project must address one or more of these thematic areas. So the first one is the promotion of common value, non-discrimination and gender equality through sport. Second one is the development of skills to improve social involvement of disadvantaged groups. Then we have the integration of migrants, and a 4th thematic area is the post-conflict reconciliation. The action is primarily targeting associations, NGOs, and more generally, non-for-profit organizations active in the field of sport. They can be based in EU member states or countries associated to the program, and in countries not associated to the program from Region 1. Region 1 being Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kosovo, and Montenegro. For-profit organizations can be involved if clear added value is demonstrated in the project. However, in order to respect the capacity objective of the action, coordination tasks must be carried out by non-for-profit organizations. Here we have the rules in order to present an eligible consortium. So the main rule is that you need to have 4 organizations from 3 countries, and then you have additional requirements. So you need to have 1 organization from 2 different EU member states or countries associated. You need to have also 2 organizations from at least 1 country from Region 1. And in total, you cannot have more organizations from an EU or associated country than organizations from countries in Region 1. Regarding the conditions, All activities must take place in the countries of the organizations involved, and the same exceptions apply as for collaborative partnerships. That is, that you can have an activity based at the seat of a European institution, and if the activity is involved promotion of results, it can also take place at a thematic event. Also, the project that you present needs to focus on one of the 4 thematic criteria that we described, so values, skills, migrant, or reconciliation. And your project must have a period ranging from 12 to 36 months. Our last action is the not-for-profit European sport event. The aim is to support the organization of sport events with a European dimension in the following field. So the project has to focus on one of the 4 priorities presented here. So that can be volunteering in sport, social inclusion through sport, fight against discrimination in sport, including gender equality, and encouraging the participation in sport and physical activity. In order to be eligible, the organization must be active in the field of sport and based in a EU member state or country associated to the program. The consortium conditions are different depending on the type of lump sum that you request. It's a type of event. We will see that in the next slide. All activities must take place in the country of the organization involved, and for this action there is absolutely no exception. And the duration must be chosen between a 12-month or an 18-month period. That must be chosen at the application stage. Here are the different types of events that that you will have to choose from. First of all, you have the European-wide event. This action is a mono-beneficiary action, so there is only one applicant, no partner, no associated partner. And this applicant has 9 participating organizations involved, presented in the application. Overall, these 10 organizations, the applicant and the 9 participating organizations, must come from 10 different countries. And the event will take place in the country of the applicant participation. So important to note here, the 9 participating organizations will not be listed in your budget and or even in the e-form. It will not appear in the contract. Nevertheless, it's important in order to ensure your eligibility that you describe these organizations in your application. In the description of your project, we need to see that you have 9 participating organizations on board. Then we have the Type 1 European local event. It's to be eligible, you need to come up with, you need to be, as part of your consortium, 3 to 5 partner organizations, and each coming from different countries. And the events must take place in the countries of each organization. The support for this type of event would be 200,000 euros. And then we have the Type 2 European local event, so it's bigger. And it involves minimum 6 partner organizations from 6 different countries. If you have more than 6 partner organizations, they can still come from 6 different countries. So you don't have, it doesn't, the stake doesn't get higher as you have more partners, as long as you have at least 6 minimum organizations from 6 minimum countries. And the events must take place in the country, in one of the country, in the countries, of each organization. The support for this type of event is 300,000 euros. Tomorrow you will have a full presentation on the funding mechanism. but since I'm presenting the actions here, I give you a peek on the situation and summarizing the different applicable rules. So, for the three actions that were already in place last year, cooperation partnerships, small-scale partnerships, and not-for-profit organization, we have prefixed lump sum. They correspond to the total budget of the grant. And so you have here the different support that can be requested. Be careful that the not-for-profit lump sum is linked to eligibility criteria, in the sense that you need to have the partners on board for each type, the right number of partners on board for each type of lump sum. Please bear in mind that no other amount can be supported, so please don't apply with other amounts than the one that you see on that screen for these applications. Then a second type of lump sum is the one that we will apply for capacity building. It's a lump sum based on budget and evaluation. So the lump sum, it can be a different lump sum fixed for each grant. It represents a maximum of 80% of the budget submitted. And it should be between 100,000 and 200,000 euros. So it becomes a lump sum from the application, from the contracting stage. Here we have the timeline. So the cooperation partnerships, the small-scale partnerships, and the not-for-profit event have a deadline on the 23rd of March. The 7th of April deadline is for the capacity building action. We foresee to do the eligibility check and evaluation process between April and September, and we hope to come back to a normal calendar and be able to give you the results and prepare the grants in November, in December. As you will also see tomorrow, the grant preparation is a different step than in the past. So we will, as it involves the beneficiaries to draw up the final conditions of their agreement. So this period is can take time. Before we open the floor to question, I would like to give you a small piece of advice. So we are engaging in the second year in the e-grant environment. So I felt important to share some tips based on the most common errors made in 2021. As not only these errors create undue delays in the selection process, but worst of all, some of these mistakes lead to the automatic rejection of projects. So first, be careful to choose the right action. If you apply by mistake under cooperation partnerships with two participating organizations, your project will be ineligible. You might have wanted to apply for small-scale participation, so be careful you click on the right action. It's a very easy mistake to make, but it's also an easy enough to avoid that type of mistake. Also, choose the right lump sum. Choose the one that is proposed, and because we cannot award any other amount. The system in the e-grant has a free field, so you can put any amount, but please use the lump sum that is allowed. And this lump sum must be in your budget form. Make sure that your request in the e-form is the request in your budget form. I must point out that in 2021, out of 1,300 applications, we had 25% of inconsistencies between the request in the e-form and the request in the budget form. Also, read carefully the eligibility criteria: duration, place of venues, size of consortium, nationalities of participants. They are all clearly stated in the program guide. We cannot circumvent the rules. So no matter how good your project is, if it doesn't pass the eligibility criteria, it will not get a chance to get assessed and supported. We are aware that these projects might be difficult to set up, that the application system might be complex, above all for first-time applicants. But there is a lot of material available to help you through. So my last advice is to listen carefully to the presentations that will be made to you tomorrow, to start early and take time to read the guidance. The presentations of today and tomorrow will be available on our website. They also constitute a useful source of information. I hope that this Info Day will be constructive for you and to prepare very good projects, and that will project that hopefully we will be able to support. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Gaëlle, for this presentation about all the possibilities given by the Erasmus Plus program in the field of sport, and also for the advices which are very useful, because that's true that our common interest is to have good projects, because we are all at the end working in the same direction and promoting sport and physical activity in the different dimensions. So it's always a pity to be, let's say, to be confronted with mistakes, let's say, which could have been easily avoided. So it's very important to have this in let's say, tips in mind. But we will have 2 days to discuss this and to make a more to have more discussion, in-depth discussion on this. Before starting with the questions, I would invite, we have the chance here to have the presence of Luciano Di Fonso, who is a sort of Pope of Erasmus Plus sport. So it would be very good, Luciano, to have some first comments from you, or some additional advice on the basis of your long and fruitful experience in the field of Erasmus Plus sport. So Luciano, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Yves. It's a pleasure to stay with you, although not physically present. It's always a pleasure to be in this room. Already is so empty that it's very strange to talk in an empty audience. But I saw that you are already very active also in our app Connects Me. A lot of messages I saw, exchange, looking for some partners. So this is exactly what was the idea when we launched the Info Days, is that is an opportunity for you physically, but also online, to have contact with other organizations, to establish partnerships, and to have new ideas in terms of projects. Of course, it's also, if I can say, the normal period for the Info Day. Last year we were very, very late. Today and this year we hope that we will start again with the normal program for the sport projects and the application selection process. So today, as usual, we had the Info Day at the end of January, beginning of February. So again this year. So we really hope that we have still this opportunity today, and to come to different period compared to last year. What is also very surprising every year for us is that also the number of we have 1,500 registered, or then we have the web streaming. And what is really interesting is also the fact that we have a lot of people participating in this event that didn't apply last year or in the past, which represent almost more than 50%, which is a good news for us. It means that we still have a new organization interested in the program, a growing interest in our sport chapter in Erasmus+, and this is also important. Of course, means also that we have a lot of applications, as it was last year. So the situation now is a highly competitive process, but we hope, especially already this year, but in the future also, to increase our budget and to try also to increase the success rate for the future. So I think tomorrow will be also a very important day with all different information. Do not hesitate also to put your questions on Connect Me. We will try to also to answer today and tomorrow to your question, to try also to answer directly in the hub. Just really follow the advice that Gael just gave in her presentation. It's very important that you pay attention in all documents, in all forms. Last year we experienced a new submission system. I know that for some of you could be complicated. Also for us, it's been not easy to work with a new tool, but I hope really that in the future and also this year we can have a better improvement in the system and in your knowledge and expertise, as it is for us also to work with this tool. I think that for the moment we can maybe either launch a start with if there is some questions from the audience, and then we will see if we can also continue with some things.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Luciano. So let's start with part of the question. We have more or less half an hour to do this. And I see that I must turn like this to read the question. The first one is from Cristiana Mondriotu. Does anyone knows where we can find the guidance? Any link to find it? Thank you. Do we start with this one or we take... okay, let's start with this one and we will see. Gael, do you want to intervene on this?
Yes. When you are on the participant portal, you will see a guide to applicants. So you will have access to that. That's a guide to find its way in the submission system. And then you will have soon the presentation on the agency website.
Merci, Gaël. Let's take the following one, if there is one. We are waiting for it to arrive. For the time being, it's the same one which is on the screen. You want to add something on this? Yeah.
Just maybe I can add what Gael said, that it's true that in the past everything was in our website, the program guide, all the presentation and things, but now since last year that we have the funding and tender opportunity portals, it's true that all information are in this portal. So you have to search within the portal in Erasmus Plus in the sport, and you will have the different action, and you will find the program guide and the different also information. On the contrary, for what it depends of the presentation, the video of these 2 days, we will have all this presentation in our website. So you have to go to the agency website and you will find in the following days some additional information.
Thank you, Luciano. Thank you, Luciano. And now I see on the screen that the second one just arrived. This one is from Nadia Brahimi. Would it be possible in the future to decentralize small-scale partnerships within sport to the national agencies so that it would be easier to include new grassroots organizations? On this, maybe I will make myself a comment. The idea in the new generation of program is this program 2021-2027 is to have some actions decentralized. One clearly is the future mobility action, which was not implemented still, but which will be in the future. So there will be, compared to the past, actions decentralized. In the first generation of program, all sports actions were dealt with in Brussels. Now some actions, mobility, for instance, will be decentralized. Concerning the small-scale partnerships, let's say no decision is taken, and it remains open because there are arguments in favor, there are arguments again. Nadia, you mentioned that it could be easier to include new grassroots organizations. That's an argument. On the other side, in order to be decentralized, an action must have a volume which is enough in terms of finance. If you have under a certain level of money, it's better to keep it in Brussels, either to give very small shares in different member states. So this is a debate for the small collaborative partnerships. For instance, for next year, if I remember correctly, we will have, for this year, 2022, we will have 9.5 million euros for these small collaborative partnerships. My view is that at this size, is too small to decentralize it. One day, maybe the discussion will be reopened. It will be reopened not only within the Commission, but also with the Member States and the Parliament, which have their words to say. So this is the reason. So this is the answer now. For the time being, in the very short term, no. Next year, it will continue to be under Brussels, let's say, management. In the future, we will see. Anything to add on this, or let's go to the next question. So this one is from Yigit Kobanoglu. Could you please inform that if the project cost will be 250,000, will you support only 200,000 as an Erasmus? Who wants to intervene on this? Luciano? Or Gael? No, Luciano, please.
I guess that we are talking here about the capacity building actions, because it is in the capacity building that we have these 80% of the total cost of a project. And so if you wish to have 200,000 euro applying for a capacity building project, in this case, the total cost of the project must be 250. This is more or less or something. For concerning the other action, this is a fixed lump sum. So the 80% is already calculated. So if you go for 200,000 euro, 300,000 euro of the lump sum, the co-financing is already calculated in this lump sum, so you just have to request exactly the amount indicated in the different lump sum according to the different action. So I don't know, Gael, if you want to add something, but this.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Luciano. Next question, please. With the technology, we always have to wait a couple of seconds before they appear. It's arriving slowly. Voilà. A question by Mr. Sergio Cortes. I understand that a consortium formed by public organizations working alongside non-for-profit sport clubs and civil society organizations are eligible for collaborative partnerships or small-scale collaborative partnerships, right? Who wants to intervene? Gael, please.
I'll reply under the watch of Luciano, but if I understand well, yes, I mean, this is any type of organization is eligible, and for some actions, be careful that they need to be, applicants need to be active in the field of sport. So please check the award criteria, because it depends on the type of. Ah, no, you're talking about collaborative partnerships. So indeed, let me just check. Sorry. Yeah, you can. You confirm that it's possible.
I think the question, if I well understood, it means there is no difference between not-for-profit and the other action. So all organizations, there is no distinction that public cannot participate only not-for-profit and civil society only for collaborative partnership, small collaborative partnership. All organizations can apply for all the actions, including the capacity building. There is no distinction between private and public, between sport and other NGOs organizations, so it's open for all kinds of organizations.
Okay, thank you, Luciano. And this is yes, we can move questions, but this is a very important point because one characteristic of our sport part of the program is that it's very open to all kinds of organizations. They must have a link to sport. This is really the basis, but otherwise it's extremely open. We were at the beginning of the program very pleased to have new organizations and new kind of organizations and bodies arriving in our Erasmus Plus program. Now our challenge is to organize a balance, let's say, have a sort of balance between different kind of organizations, not to have, for instance, I don't know, NGOs overrepresented or universities overrepresented. So this is just a question of balance between our different partners, but all sort of organizations are welcome to participate. Now, I see the next question, Ljubko Mihailovsky. For the Type 1 and Type 2 non-for-profit European sport events, how many of the 6 countries need to be EU countries, and how many can be Western Balkans and other partner countries? Yeah, true that there are different scenarios. Do you want Gaël to intervene?
For eligibility on the European sport events, so it's open to EU countries and countries associated to the program, and all these countries are eligible, so there is no restriction whether you need to have part of the consortium being in third country or in countries associated to the program. As long as it's eligible, it's no other requirements. So to the question, and how many can be for Western Balkans or other partner countries, as long as all your participants are based in a country associated to the program, they're eligible, and you can have as many as you want.
Absolutely. Just to clarify, so the Western Balkans here, we are talking only on the countries that are sign an agreement with the European Commission, with the European Union, so it's the only 2 countries that are associated to the program, which is Serbia and the Republic of North Macedonia. The other countries are not eligible from Western Balkans, but is for the capacity building action, yes, but not for this not-for-profit European sport events. This must be clear. So we are talking about, as Gaël said, EU member states and the third country associated to the program. So the 2 from the Western Balkans, all the other countries that are third countries, but they are associated and they are eligible. All the others are not eligible for this action. Yeah.
You can find the full list in the program guide. In the part A of the program guide, there is the full list of associated countries to the program.
Thank you, Gaël and Luciano. And now we have a question by Jacqueline Cronenberg-Edela. What is the most important goal that you hope to reach with capacity building? So I will give again the floor to Gaël or Luciano. I would just say myself one thing, is that this new action is a little bit a symbol of the opening of the program to non-EU countries and to non-program countries. You know that at the very beginning of the program, 8 years ago, we were very EU and program countries centered, and more, because there was a political wish from the Commission, and because also there was an important request from our stakeholders, from you, from the Member States, from Parliament. Our program became more open, much more open to international cooperation. In the sport part, it was a case already in education and youth. In sport, it was not so much open. And now we have opened it much more, and this is a little bit a symbol of the new possibilities of cooperation which are given. But Gaël, can you on this complement on what are the precise goals, and maybe Luciano later?
Yes, sure. Indeed, the idea is to be inclusive towards these the organization in these countries and help them benefit from a European support, and with this support, maybe to make it a step into transnational projects, to help them secure a network with European organization, and also on their own territory to encourage the practice of sport and bring all the values that sport can bring regarding social inclusion of or equal opportunities. So with this action, the aim is really to bring them with us in making sport part of the society.
Yeah, I think it's really is the name of the action, which is very important to take into consideration. So the capacity building is the main goal, as we said, is really to increase the capacity building of the organization in that countries which is in region 1. This is the first time that in the Erasmus Plus sport program we have an action in which countries not associated to the program can be the applicant. It's really, really important. It's the first time, and it's important so that this action is mainly dedicated to these countries and this organization. Is it true that organization from member states can participate, must participate, can be also the applicant, but the main goal, I would say, is really to increase the capacity of this organization in that country. And this is also why in this action you can have also regional cooperation among countries that they belong of the same area, which is really also important, because we can have also third country associated to the program like Serbia, North Macedonia, that they can be a partner without a new member states of this action. So this is, for me, is the really main goal of this action. Yeah.
Thank you, Luciano. And now we have a question by Rafaela Lioce. Is it a new established organization? Is a new established organization eligible as partner? Gaël, please.
The simple answer is yes. Nothing else to add. Yes, it's eligible. There is no restriction on the establishment.
Thank you, Gaël. Simple answer. Now the next one. Just again waiting a little bit for the next one. Voilà. Laura Maria Tidla asks, is there any consideration that this year's 23rd of March deadline will be extended if last year's results are only coming out 6 weeks beforehand? I will myself answer at this question. We are at this stage not considering any extension of deadlines. In principle, let's say this hypothesis that is, I will say it in other words, in principle, what I just said before should be respected. In the 3 coming weeks, we will have results. But in any case, this will not have an impact of the deadline of the 23rd of March. We can never say that it will not happen, but this is not considered at the time being. You remember that last year there was an extension of deadlines based mainly on two reasons. First, that the time given to sport organizations and stakeholders was really short to prepare a good application. At the end, we had many, but so first argument, it was very short. And second argument, it was we had some technical issues also concerning the application forms, and this was putting some organizations in difficulty. We didn't want to penalize them, so we decided this extension. So this may happen from time to time. This year we see a priori no reason why we should extend the deadlines. So next question, please. Mahen Sauklik asks, hi all, does Mauritius form part of this program? Gael, clearly not a program country, but Gael or Luciano, do you want to comment? This doesn't impede from participating or being part of the...
Yeah. Consider if it's I don't think it's a country related to territoire d'outre-mer or other countries. I don't think so. But of course, as I said, Erasmus Plus sport program, it's for the collaborative cooperation, partnership for cooperation is open all over the world. So all countries can participate, whole organization for all countries. The only limitation is that they cannot be in the minimum requirements for the eligibility. So in a partnership for cooperation, you must have minimum three organizations from member states or third country associated to the program. In addition to these three organizations, three countries, you can have also countries outside the European Union. But of course, we need, the expert will evaluate the added value of this country in the project, and if this is not demonstrated, the participation of this country can be taken out from the partnership and from the actions. So the project will continue to be supported, but without the participation of the third countries if this is not demonstrated the added value of its participation.
Thank you, Luciano. But you know, a priori, one message is also that a priori, in certain conditions, all countries from all the world can, in a way, be involved in one action of the program. The fact of being, I don't know, an organization from China, India, whatever country is not per se a reason not to be able to participate. And we have partners. We have more and more partners from countries outside the EU, outside the program, of countries non-associated to the program. Now we have a question from Ana Tejero. Can sporting events be integrated into a small-scale collaboration? Gaëlle?
As long as it's, the sport event must be an organization. So any organization can take part in the small-scale collaboration, and depending on the activities foreseen, if they comply with the small-scale collaboration projects priorities, there is no restriction what type of organization that is.
Yes, absolutely. I can also add that normally a small scale, you can have two countries as a minimum, and is, of course, the main objective is to have an exchange of best practice and idea. But, of course, the idea to have also sporting events organized within this action can be also, of course, included. It can be also interesting to organize, so that we have an exchange between different... We have a lot of small collaborative partnerships, for example, work in the field of social inclusion of refugees, through football. There are sports clubs in different countries. They exchange their experience, their ideas, and then at the end of the project, they organize a small tournament, a small sporting events with the whole participation of the different athletes football clubs of the different countries. So this is a typical example that can be absolutely to be covered by the grant and the lump sum, including some equipment for the different sport club, sport organization involved.
Thank you, Luciano. Gael, we have 5 minutes more to finish our session, so we can still maybe have 2-3 questions. Alors, Alice Bourny, question, dear Mr. Yves Lelostec, dear Luciano D'Alfonso, gender equality has been a priority for a while now. Could it be the time to think about a cluster meeting to check on annual impact and outcomes reached? Thanks. I will give the floor to my colleagues, but I will also maybe give you a first comment. Gender equality has been a priority for a while now. True. We have many projects on gender equality, promoting gender equality, and we have many projects where the gender equality dimension is taken into account and is an added value to the project. Could you think about a cluster meeting to check on actual impact and outcomes reached? I would make 2 comments on this. First, you know that during the last years, the agency has had the tradition to, in cooperation with the Commission, to organize a cluster meeting in order to precisely to analyze projects, to check their impact, to discuss also with member states and parliament what to do with what has been produced with projects. We interrupted a little bit these cluster meetings due to COVID. Now, hopefully, in the coming months or years, it will be reopened, and the questions of the subject will be reopened. So this is a good suggestion. I cannot give any answer now, but thank you for this suggestion. My additional comment on this will be that it would be good also to discuss with my colleagues who are in the room from the Commission, because you know that there is a very important work which has been done on gender equality. There has been a high-level group which has met and which has just produced, or which will come with some ideas very, very soon. And on this, maybe there will be some discussion to know, to discuss what to do with this suggestion. So it would be good also not only to discuss with us, the agency, and we can have part of the answer, but also to discuss with our colleagues from the Commission about the future plans concerning the promotion of gender equality in sport. Additional comment on this, Luciano?
Maybe we can say that, in fact, I don't know, it's a secret, but I can really, it's among us, so I can say something about this. But in fact, we already planned, it's almost ready, a cluster meeting on broader context, which is social inclusion, in which one of the aspects is the gender equality already prepared from us since probably 2020. But of course, then we were touched by what is happening in 2020-21 and the beginning of this year. So that's why, because we think we could launch a cluster meeting even, I don't know, in 1 month, or although Gael will kill me, I'm sure, but just to say that we can do online without any problem. But in particular for this cluster meeting, what does it mean for us, this cluster meeting, which is the exchange, the physical participation, the exchange, it's really important. That's why we keep this program in our table, and we hope that in the future we can have possibilities to have physical participation in a meeting, because in a cluster meeting it's really important to have this kind of exchange. So the idea, as Yves confirmed, we have it, we will continue to organize, to put together the results of the project with the policymakers, with the different institutions, and the idea is to continue. But of course, last year we had a very difficult year. This year we are paying again an impact. The late publication of the results is an example. So this year will be also a bit complicated in this part of the year, but we will certainly have the idea to continue to organize this kind of meetings in the future.
Okay, thank you, Luciano. So, dear Alice, I hope it answers to your question. By the way, I saw that Luciano gave you a secret information in the presence of 5,000 witnesses, but that's true. That's true that it is already almost known that we will do this. I think it will be probably the last question, and this question comes from Yuris Rizkins. Question: do you somehow evaluate financial capacity of the coordinators or partners? Can financial capacity play some role in evaluation? Gaël?
So the evaluation is first made on the project, on the proposal, and then if projects that are pre-selected are then required to submit their financial details, and financial capacity is determined at that point. And based on the results of the financial capacity, the agency could decide to say that there is no pre-financing payment in order to reduce the risk. But a weak financial capacity will not affect the selection, the initial selection of the project.
Thank you, Gaël. I'm afraid it's now time to close our session, our first session on the general presentation of the program. So thank you for all of you, for all those who asked the question, which help us also think and explain a little bit more about the program. Thanks to Gaël and Luciano to have presented and answered the questions. In any case, it's not the end of the questions. We will have 2 days for this, and the next session and tomorrow morning will be decisive again to go deeper in the discussions. Now we are just going to make a half an hour break, and we will restart at 11:30 Brussels time, so in half an hour more or less, with the policy session, which will be moderated by Floor van Hoed, the head of the sport unit in the European Commission. Thanks a lot and have a nice break.
Hello everyone. My name is Flor van Hout. I'm very happy to welcome you to this policy panel on European sport policy. European policy is about working together. It's about teamwork in sport. European policy is about cooperating with member states, with stakeholders, bringing partners together. And here is very much where the policy meets Erasmus+, because of course, thanks to the project, thanks to the partnerships and events, it's not only us driving the process, but we do it together with you, with the stakeholders, with the Erasmus+ family. And how that works in practice, I will first ask my colleague Stefano to give you an insight into our activities in sport and what are the recent priorities. Stefano, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good morning to all the friends of the sport movement. My name is Stefano Pintus, and I'm a policy officer in the sport unit. Just waiting for the slides to start, but in today's presentation, in the next 10 minutes or so, I will be going through the main elements of the EU sport policy. We'll see the priorities, and of course, we will concentrate more on the healthy lifestyle for all. I start with my first slide, and that is about the basis of sport. As you know, each policy in the European Union needs to be based on article from the treaty from the treaties, and that is Article 165 for us. More beyond the basic law, we also have other documents that help us in becoming more effective and work well between the European Union, the EU institutions more in general, member states, and the stakeholders. That is specifically the EU Work Plan for Sport. And we have two big highlights for 2021, and that is the launch of two expert groups on recovery from COVID-19 and green sport. That is very important. We also have peer learning activities and other events. If you're interested in this document, don't hesitate to look for it on the internet. It is present on our EURLEX, and you can find more information about that. Now, going to the second slide, we have the three pillars of the EU Work Plan for Sport. As you can see, that is about integrity and values, about socioeconomic and environmental dimension, and about health, enhancing physical activity. So we structure all of our activities into these three key fields. As you will see, the Erasmus Plus priorities, they are also very much interconnected. Going to the next slide, we see that we have a much higher budget compared to the past, and especially because the first year of a new programming period has a dip in the budget, but that goes up in the year after. And especially the small cooperation partnerships and the not-for-profit sport events are the two that are receiving the highest increase, as you can see on the screen. We also welcome to the family, if you want, the capacity building in the field of sport. So if you are an organization that is working or wishes to work with the Western Balkans, you are definitely very welcome to have a look at it and maybe send an application. Here we have the priorities. As you will see, they didn't change very, very much compared to last year. The big change is in the right-hand side of your screen on the orange box at the top. That we have the promoting health. Healthy lifestyles for all. This is our new priority that is here to accommodate the Healthy Lifestyle for All initiative that was sent by Commissioner Gabriel in September of 2021. So you will see traditional sport and games, for instance, it is still there. So no big change on this slide. Moving forward, we have pilot projects and preparatory action. One, you know it already, it's grassroots infrastructure innovation. And we have a new one, which is people and planet. If you recall the previous slide on socioeconomic and environmental dimension, you see we are very much progressing into this field. And you will know more about this in the upcoming months. In terms of events, we are at the beginning of the year. That is the Sport Info Day. And we have still 4 big events upcoming. One is the Be Inclusive Awards that are taking place in roughly 3 months from now. The Youth Sport Forum, which is taking place in June. We have the European Week of Sport, always taking place between the 23rd and 30th of September of every year. From 2021, we could count on millions of participants and tens of thousands of events. And we always conclude the year with the Be Active Awards that close. Now, as Commissioner Gabriel said, the Healthy Lifestyle for All is a new big initiative. It follows the Tartu Call on a Healthy Lifestyle. They ran a few years ago, but it also last 2 years. However, this call is somehow different. It is about co-creation. So if you are a very small sport club, or if you are a big federation, if you are a small village or a township, or if you are a government, and if you have a good idea about an initiative on healthy lifestyles, you can be part of it. We will see that in just a minute. As Commissioner Gabriel anticipated, the Healthy Lifestyle for All is organized around 3 key priorities, and you can send a pledge in each one of these priorities separately. That means that if you have a good idea about promotion of healthy lifestyles and giving information about healthy lifestyles, there you can send a pledge in this field. It is important to note that this calls to all generations, because from the kids to the elderly, they all need to do physical activity, and they have different needs, so that can cater for that. Second priority is about access to sport and physical activity, with a special link on inclusion and non-discrimination. This is because we discover that sometimes there is the willingness, but the infrastructure is just not there, and maybe you have a good idea, so you can pledge in this respect. The third one is about a holistic approach, so it's a system. You can think of a Healthy Lifestyle for All as a way to send a pledge, not only for doing more sport, but also to include health, nutrition, and well-being, including, of course, mental well-being. Sometimes it's just not enough to do more sport. We also need to think of other elements. Moving forward, that's a little bit the practical part. So a pledge is an initiative that you are sending. It will be yours, and you will implement it until December of next year. So we still have almost 2 years to go. And the idea behind a pledge board is to show what you're doing. So the 45 pledges that are present today, they showed where they are, who they are addressed to, and where you can probably participate to that. Again, it is important to note that there is no hierarchy of scale. You can have your pledge sent to a small sport club as the European-wide level. Everything counts. We believe that there is a sort of a need to be spread in each community, and everyone can be part of it and can be targeted and can gain from that. Now, getting to probably the most complicated part, that is about what a pledge is and how it works compared to Erasmus+. As you recall, there is a new priority, So you don't need to be part of Erasmus Plus to send a pledge. You can send your own individual pledge. You can do it now. If you are an applicant, an interested applicant to Erasmus Plus, you can send already a pledge, an initiative. This will give you already some visibility. And if you are already implementing an Erasmus Plus project, you can think already of sending your pledge as well, and to give more visibility to the initiative you are already ongoing. The main difference between the two is that for sending a pledge, for implementing a pledge, there is no budget provided. That is just for Erasmus. So it is a little bit up to you to decide in which level you want to operate, and where you can best send your own input. In terms of pledges, you are definitely invited to do it now. There is a link in this description, and there is more information in the website Healthy Lifestyle for All that will allow you to see what is already being done, who are the pledgers right now, and any other important question. We will read your pledge. We will get back to you if there is any question, and finally they will be published according to our specification, of course. Now, my presentation is coming to a close. Here, you can get in touch with us via Twitter or Facebook, where this event is also web streamed. And here there is the link to the Healthy Lifestyle for All, where you can have a look at all the questions and all the pledges and more information. We are, of course, available to reply to questions should you have any. Thank you very much.
Thank you indeed, Stefano, for this presentation. I hope it's all clear what we from the European Commission do to promote the European dimension in sport and European sport policy. Now, I said sport policy is teamwork, so we work together very much with stakeholders, with member states to realize these ideas and also to implement further and ensure that these reach out to everyone in Europe, from the top international organizations down to the bottom at grassroots level. As Stefano also said, this is something where everyone can get involved. And here in our panel, I have 4 distinguished guests who will today with me look at some of the issues that are on our agenda right now. On the one hand, of course, how to overcome the difficulties that we're still facing because of the COVID-19 pandemic that unfortunately is still with us. And on the other hand, also how to stakeholders and member states can carry forward this idea, this notion of promoting healthy lifestyles for all. So let me present our distinguished guests. So first, here on my left, I have the pleasure to introduce to you Gloria Viseras, who was, at the age of 15, a national champion in gymnastics. We're very impressed, and you've also competed in the Olympics. So we're very happy to have you here with us, Gloria. But you're here also to talk about your work you did after around safe sport, protection of children and minors, and having sport in a respectful way. And you've done a lot of projects, Erasmus, you have a lot of experience, and I'm very happy that you will share some of it today here with us. Then here, further on my left, is Mr. Jean Gracia, who is the first Vice President of European Athletics, which is the European organization organizing athletics competitions. And notably, Jean, you were in charge of organizing the European Athletics Championship in 2020 in France. And of course, this was 2020, a very difficult year, and we look forward also to learning from your experience on how to cope as a sport federation in this incredibly difficult time with constraints and where you have to adapt and sometimes take difficult decisions. But we look forward to hearing your story. Now I turn to my right, and there is Heidi Sulander, who is the Counselor for Education, Culture, Audiovisual, Youth and Sport, a mouthful, Heidi, in the permanent representation of Finland. And you have chaired the Sport Working Party a couple of years ago. You're also following sport policy and giving the Finnish input to our European cooperation. So we're also very happy that you're here to give us your insight from the side of one of our member states. And then lastly, I have in the cloud somewhere Eva Glibo, who is unfortunately not with us here in the room, but she will join our panel discussion from Munich. And Eva is a committee member of ENGSO Youth, which is an NGO working for youth participation and the voice of young people in sport. She's also representing the Croatian Olympic Committee. And in ENGSO, she's the lead of the health working group, where she focuses on youth mental health, which, as we all know, has been heavily affected by the long time of the pandemic that we're living right now. So thank you very much for being here. We're very happy. And my first question actually goes to Heidi, because you have the responsibility of, not you, but your country, of supporting sport activities in your country. And how have you been able to motivate sport clubs to keep up and not to let themselves down by all the difficulties in the various nature, by not being able to practice, by not being able to organize activities, to still continue this very important work, because, of course, sport is maybe more important than ever. Heidi.
Thank you, Flora, and thank you for the invitation here. It's great that this great event goes on despite the difficult times. So very good to be here today. I must say that even if I'm representing government point of view, I'm sure that we all share the aim to keep people active in all ages and able to enjoy sports also during pandemia. It's not always easy job, but we will only see in the future how well we did when we get more data. But at the moment, it seems that at least in Finland, we have managed to avoid kind of a mass escape from sport clubs, and restrictions have even brought new people into sports, especially outdoor sports, both on snow and ice, as well as in forest in summer, are highly popular in Finland at the moment. And at least my social media seems to be full of photos of touring, skating on lakes at the moment, and also the Olympic Stadium in Helsinki was opened for cross-country skiing, so it seems to be very popular. So the role of the state and our ministry in Finland is mainly to create possibilities for sport organization and sport clubs. In concrete terms, this means funding for the basic work sport clubs do every day, but we have also tried to create some new forms of special assistance to support new activities. First, when the pandemic started in spring 2020, sport premises were closed by the government's decision for a few months, and then we also opened the first extra call for support for sport clubs. In this phase, I believe we were all quite optimistic about how long the pandemic will last, and also the first call was only to cover 2 months' salaries and rental costs for sport clubs to get over the first shock. But of course, it wasn't enough, and when the pandemic continued in second phase in autumn 2020, we directed support to sport federations in order to cover COVID-19 related costs, but also to create new innovations and new ways to do sports in sport clubs. The grant amount was approximately 3 million euros, and this amount allowed, for example, creating training modules for trainers and staff to enhance new skills and competencies, as well as creating new digital tools for sports. And as we well know, COVID-19 has hit not only grassroots level activities, but also professional sports, and some leagues have been interrupted or even closed during pandemia. And also they have suffered from lack of audience due to restrictions. And in Finland, our ministry has therefore also directed extra funding for sport clubs attending professional leagues in 2020 and 2021, approximately 1.4 million per year to cover most urgent costs. And last year in 2021, we also boosted direct grants for sport clubs to help them to keep going and providing their services all the way from the bottom level to the top level athletes. We do support sport clubs in normal circumstances as well, but now these grants have been increased temporarily. So all in all, the government has supported sport with extra 36 million euros during the pandemic, in addition to annual budget of approximately 150 million euros. This doesn't cover amounts directed for sport by cities and municipalities that are also important, and also we have extra funding for private sport clubs and training studios and gyms, for example, so they are not covered by these. I know my answer is a bit boring since governance motivation is very finance-oriented, but we consider it best that appropriate actions are created in the field by professionals, and I think this is all the same way that we also work in Erasmus+.
Thank you, Heidi. And it's very important that funding is key, so I wouldn't call it necessarily boring. It's simply very important and probably has been necessary to keep the sector going in Finland, and probably this is very similar in other countries. But what I also take up from your intervention is that you have noted a different way of practicing sport to your social media and maybe other evidence that came to you. And you've tried to adapt and to also offer and support the people who are interested in these kind of forms to innovate and to change and to also widen the spectrum of possibilities to practice sport. And I hope this is also an inspiration for the listeners that this could be something to think about when you're submitting your Erasmus Plus project. Thank you. So now I turn to Jean, please. And I already mentioned you were in charge of the organization of a European Athletics Championship in 2020, which was, of course, at the time of the pandemic, where maybe things were even more difficult than they are today. Not because of the restrictions, but also of the great uncertainty. We didn't know where this was going, and there was a lot more fear and uncertainty to see what to cope, and we didn't have the experience that we have now. So perhaps you could share with us how, as an organization, you are coping with the difficulties and trying to keep the Federation and its activity going, even in spite of those very difficult 2 years that we just passed.
Thank you very much, Flor. In fact, it has been a very difficult situation. We just as a feedback, okay, these championships that we were supposed to organize in 2020, France was waiting since 82 years to receive this competition. So we were really thinking that this was very important for us, for the French people, but also for the European ones. So this event was supposed to be organized in August 2020 by the European Athletics and by the French Athletic Federation. And it was also supposed to launch the 33rd Olympiad towards Paris 2024. So this should have been really a major sporting event and popular event as well, for thousands of athletes, for thousands of spectators, viewers, and also of journalists and volunteers. We were, at that time, we started already the organization of the championships in 2017, and we were 70 people working full-time for this event. And at that time, we already had sold 60% of our ticket sales, so it was really promising. And when the COVID came, we started first, to let's try to continue to do it, and we tried, and we worked very hardly with the medical department and with the French authorities to see which measures we will be able to put in place to still continue to organize, because it was so important for the athletes to be there, and we worked many weeks to find solutions by implementing special activities towards the COVID, by even modifying the events, because we were at the beginning supposed to organize at Charity Stadium, but also inside the city of Paris and the Trocadero. And so we downsized the event to put it much more secure and to be agreed. And at the end, we did not find the proper solution. And then we said, okay, let's try now to postpone the event like many other organizations have done. And the uncertainties that you mentioned, because it was the beginning of the COVID, and we didn't know in 2020 what will happen in 2021 and afterwards. And we know where we are now. So, and at that time we said, okay, and economically it was totally impossible to do it. So we decided to cancel the event on the 23rd of April, 2020. This date will be in my memory forever. What I should mention that for this event, we were also part of an Erasmus project, which was funded by the European Commission, and it was a non-for-profit event called European Volunteer and Active Citizen. And then we, after that cancellation, we spoke with Luciano and with Yves to see, okay, the event is dead, but the reason why we were doing this project was not dead. So we still worked, and we redesigned the project on a different way, and we managed to do it through, for sure, through teleconferences and things like that. But still, we had a chance, because in October 2020, we still had the pandemic was down, and we did a physical gathering of 250 people who came from the volunteers, and we had 300 attending by teleconference, and it was really a good success. And I want to take this opportunity to thank European Commission for having trust on us, and it was a good project. Taking the lessons of all that, European athletics, has suffered a lot, because all events in 2020 were cancelled. All, not a single one has stayed. So still, the president of European Athletics and the council decided that we absolutely need to maintain the events in 2021. And we were supposed to organize 13 events in 2021, and in reality we organized 11, which is the biggest part. And I should say that we have been very proud of doing that, because the first event was the European Indoor Championships in Torun in March 2021. And when you saw the athletes, they're so happy to really start again, to meet and to compete against the others, and was fantastic, And we had very workly with for sure the different organizations, national governments, to put the safety measures in place. It cost some money, I should say, but we succeed on that, and we are very proud to say that we put in place really strong protocols that we can still maintain the competition, having a special bubble for the athletes, another one for the journalists, another one for the other officials, and we succeed, and we really organize quite all events in 2021. So now we are ready. We know how to do, and but we still hope that this pandemic will be finished and that we will go back to the normal life. Thank you.
Thank you, John. What I recall most from you is to say that despite all these difficulties and these dates, which were so hard, and you had to you will always remember this date when things were cancelled, that it makes up when you see the happy faces of athletes, that they're so pleased that you have organized all this. And I think this deserves really deep respect from your federation and probably many other federations who have done behind the scenes so much work to be able to keep us. And this goes for the athletes, it also goes for the spectators, because in some of the toughest moments, there was sport to watch on TV and matches to follow, I think have brought a lot of console, of normality and continuity and joy in the lives of many Europeans. So thank you. And I will now turn to Gloria, where we're changing the subject a little bit. And of course, COVID has been really a reset where everything we planned had to be done differently. But it also has been a moment, I think, where we appreciated the importance of our health, of our well-being, for us in society is very, very important and deserves our attention. And here, this is something you have been a strong advocate for supporting the rights of athletes, notably for children, also the preservation of dignity, the fight against abuse, and you've done a lot of Erasmus projects in this field. And also, of course, this project had to continue because it's not that it's covered that you can cancel this important work. So how have you lived this period, and how have you coped to get by?
Thank you so much. I am very, very honored to be here today on this side of the table. I have been on the other side several times. So this is a great honor for me to be here today. I have participated in several life-changing Erasmus Plus projects with direct positive impact on people on the ground. I first came in contact with the program in 2015 when I was invited to participate in the final conference of a project called Sport Respects Your Rights. This was the first time that I spoke about my own experience of abuse in sport, and in an international setting, and it literally changed my life. It was in that context of that Erasmus Plus project that I stopped being a victim and I became a survivor. And I decided that being a survivor of sexual abuse in sport was really my superpower, and I could use this superpower to help organizations provide safe and protective and supportive environments for children to play sport. The sport. After the Sport Respects Your Rights project, I was part of a steering committee of a project called Voices for Truth and Dignity, where a qualitative study was conducted on the life experiences of 72 European former athletes with lived experiences of sexual abuse in sport. And this project changed the lives of many of those survivors who were, for the first time, speaking up and disclosing about their experiences of abuse in sport. After the project, we formed a very strong community of survivors in Europe with very, very strong bonds. Several survivors organizations were formed in different countries in Europe. And to this day, we still collaborate with each other, implementing safeguarding, raising awareness, and helping sport organizations, institutions, and governments to implement safeguards and keep children and adults at risk safe in sport. The last Erasmus Plus project that I participated in was as a project coordinator, and it was a project called the Iprotect Project. This project, with a very high-level team of experts in Europe, we developed educational materials. We developed a platform in different languages to provide education for grassroots organizations. We developed courses for coaches, for parents, for the children themselves participating, and for sports management in different languages. And this is fantastic, and it's still making a difference. It's still providing free education for people on the ground. So this was also a very important project. So yes, I am a big fan of the Erasmus Plus program. It is perfect to make a positive impact on people on the ground. We all know how difficult it is to get finances and financing for projects like this, with difficult topics, with topics that have been taboo in the past. But guys, it is like Christmas. I mean, 70 million euros at your disposal to fight against violence, against discrimination and intolerance in sport, to fight for integrity, for inclusion, reconciliation, and to promote the common values of sport. This is amazing. And you now have the opportunity to also submit proposals for capacity building and education programs and projects. This is fantastic. So get to work, submit your proposals, and make a difference. Thank you. Thank
you for sharing your story, Gloria. That's very impressive, and it's it's very impressive to see, and we all owe you respect for bringing your sport values of trying to achieve, to perform, resilience, and continue even in spite of the hardest difficulties is something that is very inspiring. And indeed, this could inspire hopefully many other Erasmus projects. Also in this period where we have all felt down at times, to see this is a story of keep going, and I hope your story can inspire some of the others to come with similar projects where we keep going, we carry each other, and we look for a future without discrimination and intolerance and abuse. Thank you. And we have Eva, who I don't see in the room. I hope she's here somewhere on screen soon for me, because I would like to ask her a question as well.
I'm here, Floor.
Excellent, excellent. So you're on the back, so I can't see. Yeah, there you are. Welcome to our community, and yes, thanks for being here with us to this morning. And talking about the subject of health and well-being, which is so important, you represent ENGSO Youth, who have actually come with a pledge, and everybody knows what is a pledge after Stefano has explained it. But ENGSO Youth Pledge was focusing on mental and physical health enhancing sport for young people. And we know that especially young people have been really suffering in this crisis because everything they need was taken away from them. And perhaps you can tell a little bit what you do and what your pledge is about to give support and to allow people to overcome these difficulties.
The floor, so giving us space to explain what we're doing, especially when we know that youth is one of the main stakeholders in the sport movement, and quite often it is a case that we don't get to give our say. So kudos to European Commission. Thank you for having us here. So in terms of what we're doing in ENGSO Youth, we are already committed to healthy lifestyles through our work. So one of the main topics that we are tackling is health. And this really pledge came as a really silver bullet for us, and we were glad that it came up, and we were basically on board from the first time we heard about it. So what we did, we analyzed the pillars that were offered, which Stefano kindly presented, and we agreed that the most convenient one for the organization and for our mission was to give more awareness for healthy lifestyles across all generations. Of course, for us it is important to emphasize youth and also to give youth voices. So our pledge is titled From Youth to Youth, where we also include our young delegates, which is a program that we lead within ENGSO Youth, where we want to give them also a voice on how to make this campaign happen. So basically, in very practical terms, it is we will be creating and leading an online campaign for people under age of 35, also created by young people under age of 35, not only providing the information on healthy lifestyles, but also engaging them in challenges and really actively searching for opportunities to get to know the value of healthy lifestyles, but also to experience it firsthand. So, as said, just one example to give you, we recently started to put into action our pledge, where we had Tabea Werner, for example, our German representative, is one of our young delegates. She came up with a mindfulness challenge that was shared on our social media and is still ongoing. Of course, Flor, as you said, it is very relevant nowadays, the topic of mental health. So we thought, well, we want to give some mindfulness exercises and insights in how to really, keep your mental state stable and healthy. So for us, in the next 2 years, this will include regular social media posts, because we have quite a large social media followings. It will also include our promotion of our policy papers, which one of the recent one was dedicated to the mental health, specifically in, but also through sport. And also, coincidentally, before this healthy lifestyle for all was that we heard about it, we also applied for a project, for Erasmus project that had in focus youth mental health. So we also hope for positive outcomes in the next days, but yes, this will also contain a campaign to support this goal. So yeah, we have a big plans in ENGSO Youth, and we are happy to also not only to pledge, but also to deliver them.
Thank you. And this is very important and relevant work, and right what many young people will need. And I hope that your campaign can really reach out far and wide and make a difference in this way. So we have still time for a second round of questions, a bit shorter this time. So at the end, hopefully, we manage also to take some questions from the audience. And my first question is for Eva first. And I will also ask Gloria, so you can think of the answer the same question. How can you motivate either an organization or the partners in an Erasmus project to come together and to work on a pledge? So Eva and Gloria, maybe you can give us an insight. How do you bring these partnerships together, and how can you motivate them around a common issue such as healthy lifestyle? Eva, can you go first, please?
Yes. So, I think it's important to emphasize what is it in it for them. So, I think there's lots of benefits, but just taken from a very stakeholder perspective, I think it's a very good venue to demonstrate to their stakeholders that they care. So they care about this very, the most, the biggest value that we have, and that is health. So preserving health, and if something bad happens, then really correcting it via a physical activity, because physical activity can do very, very much. So it's, I would say, a formalization of the commitment of sport that sport had already in the past. Sport is tightly linked to health. Sometimes it is quite unfortunately forgotten, as we see in Gloria's case. But I think this also pledge serves that purpose to really remind us all that sport and health go hand in hand. And also one last point very shortly, I think within the global discussions of sustainable development, etc., this is a direct tackle of the Sustainable Development Goal number 3, where we have the collaborative action and co-creative action that can hopefully lead to better health for all. So yeah, I think if you ask me on the top of my head, these would be the biggest 2 reasons that I would say that the stakeholders would need to get engaged.
Thank you. Also, the same question for you, Gloria.
Yes, thank you. I keep thinking about the 90 days that we were stuck in our homes at the beginning of the pandemic, where we couldn't even go out to buy groceries at home in Spain, and how difficult it was for us to move and to keep a sane head in all of this, while you can't even get out of the house. So it is really important to make sure that that sport is accessible for everybody at all levels, to keep a healthy lifestyle, to keep healthy physically and mentally. And I encourage all of the sport organizations, institutions, governments to make this pledge and keep people safe and healthy. It's not it's the most important thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. You already mentioned, after all the work in the competitions, how happy the athletes were. And we hear that especially young people have been hit hard in the pandemic. And this is also why this year is the European Year of Youth. And what specifically for young people do you do to keep them motivated to practice sport, to get engaged, not to let themselves down, but to get out and be healthy and enjoy the kind of sport activities that you and other federations are offering them?
Thank you, Flor. I will complement what Gloria just said. We have the situation of this pandemic, which is something which happened only two years ago, which, in fact, we see much more things, and we realize how much important is the health and the mental of the people, and that the sport has to work on that issue. Athletics has always been seen as a competition. And you said it in your introduction earlier that European Athletics is a competition organization. But this is what everybody understands. But in reality, since about 10 years now, European Athletics has went through a second pillar. The pillar, our heart is the competition, but still we have a second pillar, which is health and well-being. For not only the youth, because everybody mentioned the youth, but the situation of the people, the old people, but also I would say, old people on the current social environment is very important. And today the sport is a really strong medication. It's the better medication, costs much less than the medication. And you can avoid a lot of diseases, about a lot of illnesses and things like that. So we realize that. But between realizing that at European Athletics headquarters in Lausanne and then being able to expand that to the 51 member federations, it's another topic. So on some Western countries, they realize that as well. My own federation, French Athletic Federation, is doing that since more than 15 years now. But it was not easy. So we decided to really awareness, and this is one of the important things that you put onto the pledge, to explain how important it is in our federations, not only to do competition, but also to go on this second pillar. So we worked very hardly. We are still in the middle. We have a lot of work to continue to do, and especially on some eastern countries, which is where the situation is much more complicated. But we are totally convinced that this is a necessary, and the pandemic has shown us how important and how urgent it is to do the job.
Thank you. And what you're saying is that it's one thing to have the idea, and then another to implement it, especially in all the diversity. But this is the nice thing about Europe. We all do different things, and we can learn from the diverse approaches, and everybody can have experiences that are worth sharing. So Heidi, coming from one of the member states, perhaps you can give us a good practice or something that you have learned in Finland on how to promote health and sport that is worth sharing wider.
Thank you. Yes, like I mentioned before, the pandemic hasn't been all darkness. At least in Finland, we have received new participants, especially in outdoor sports. But my example comes from youth or young people's point of view as well, since we are having this European Year of Youth at the moment, and Erasmus is also a joint program for education, youth and sport. So I would like to highlight the joint initiative, a national initiative in Finland, including both sport and youth sectors, and it was for summer 2021. The idea was to provide opportunity for sport clubs to hire young persons, 16 years old and older, to work for them for 2 weeks during the summertime and cover costs with a special grant. And this project enabled sport clubs to open more activities during the summertime, which was especially important after restrictions during the winter and springtime. And we had really good results. The sports club could open more and smaller training groups for children, which was really needed. Summertime day sport camps are very popular in Finland, but last summer there was a risk that some children would be left out because the COVID-19 safety rules and restrictions, and therefore it was very good to have new participants for sport clubs to run these groups. And it was also possible to create new groups, especially for returners. During winter, a number of children dropped out from their sport hobbies due to restrictions, but were still interested to continue when it was safe and possible. So also in this regard, it was a good experiment to allow new possibilities. And thirdly, also it was good for returners who were 16 or older, or even active members in sport clubs. They were also offered a new perspective to work in their sport clubs. Most of them worked as instructors, but also other tasks were possible. We all know, for example, that young people have skills and competencies the older ones might lack, especially what comes to social media, marketing, etc. So also in this regard, it was a successful experiment. We hope that it will continue next summer, but no decisions are done yet. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that and also putting these links between youth and sport, which could hopefully also be, again, an inspiration for everyone who is listening. We have a little bit of time left for questions from the audience, if we can get some up.
Yes. So I'd like to ask the colleagues in the backstage. I believe we had a question. Otherwise, I can read it out loud. Yeah, there it is. Oh, sorry. Can be achieved. So, maybe Flora, I can take this question. Thank you for it, first of all, and that's actually a good chance to clarify how it works. So they have very similar names. So the priority promotion of healthy lifestyles and the healthy lifestyle for all, they have similar names, but they are separated. There are two different things. You can be part of the healthy lifestyle for all anytime you want, whenever you have a good idea. It has no connection with Erasmus. This is an initiative without a budget, and basically the more pledges we have, it means that the more communities are engaged, especially the small ones. They are very important, but if you are an organization or a federation that has a national or a European level, that would be very interesting. It would be delighted to have pledges. So you can do it at any time. If your interest is in Erasmus+, the idea was to implement the healthy lifestyle for all, and to allow you to develop maybe a bigger idea with funding. So that will come basically in 1 year from now. And because, as I said, the Healthy Lifestyle for All initiative doesn't have funding. And you can do it two ways. You can send it immediately, and you're already starting to work on it. And then with Erasmus+, you can get it a step farther or send a new pledge. Maybe you are an Erasmus+ project and you're already doing a lot of good and you want to give it more visibility, you can do it as well. What has to be clear, I believe, after this session is that you don't need to send a pledge or send a pledge afterwards to be part of Erasmus+, or if you are part of Erasmus+. So you can implement a project in teaming for a holistic approach, for instance, the third pillar, which would be very important in Erasmus+, be awarded a project and not be part of the Healthy Lifestyle for All initiative if you don't wish so. So I hope that these few minutes clarified. If not, I'm on Connect.me, so you can send me questions and I will try to reply to all of you. Thank you.
I think we can take another question. No? I'm seeing technicians say no, no questions anymore.
Check if there is any other question that arrived in the last minute.
Well, if there are no other questions, it means you have all been super clear. At least when I can say personally, you've all been very inspiring and uplifting, and being all four of you showing that even in hardship and against challenges, you can go forward and come with positive stories and make Europe and make sport a better place, for which I would like to really warmly thank you all. And with that, thank you. Also, thank you for listening to our panel debate. I hope it was inspiring for you as well. And for now, I wish you a good lunch and a good rest of the info day that will continue tomorrow.